Why Not? A queer podcast.
Hi, everybody. I'm Rick Todd.
And I'm Jeremy Williams. You're listening to Wine.
Why Not? A queer podcast.
Episode 61.
Ooh, we should have done gay alien movies. Are there gay alien movies?
I'm sure there are. Aren't all alien movies a little gay?
I mean, there's E.T.
Yeah.
Was he gay? He did a thing with a finger.
Oh. Yeah.
Does that make... I don't know. I don't know how aliens do it.
One leg at a time. That not the right phrase? I'm going to learn these phrases one day. So happy podcast day.
Happy podcast day. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, yeah. I should have dyed my juice green.
We should explain this, though, for
Yes.
anyone. If this is the first time, if we weren't recording these on video, we probably wouldn't say anything because we'd get away with it.
Yeah.
But this is the first time that we've not done this. So if you're a first-time listener and you're like, this is going to be hilarious because this guy's going to drink wine and get wasted and this guy's not, and then they're going to argue about shit, that's not going to happen today.
No. Well, I'll be
Maybe.
a little wasted just on Sudafed instead of wine. So yeah, I have not the COVID, probably.
We'll find out.
Tests have been wrong in the past. But I've been battling a little bit of the flu. So as not to mix meds and alcohol, I will be partaking in Shelby's drink of some orange juice.
Oh, how many times will I be able to say "drink your juice, Jeremy" during this
Probably
podcast?
a lot.
Yeah, I would just want to point out too that this is how much we care about this podcast. How much we're dedicated to bringing you our opinions.
Yes.
Because Jeremy's not feeling well.
No.
And this room that we record this in is very small.
Yes. I mean, we're on opposite sides of the table.
Yeah, we are, but Caitlin's in the middle.
Caitlin's off to... I will direct all of my germs to the left side.
No.
She's on the right side. She'll be fine.
No breathing this way towards Caitlin.
But yes, we are pushing through. I left the hospital this morning, came right to the studio. No. Can you imagine if I was that dedicated? I was like, take this IV out now. I have a podcast to do.
Yeah. Wouldn't we?
I mean, wouldn't we? Ooh, we
have
could
very-
do it on location.
We have
You come to my room.
we have very important opinions that cannot wait.
How will people get through their week if they don't know what we thought about the ending of Feud?
I know. They're tuned in right now like, damn it, they screwed us last week. Now we get 2.
It's 2 for the price of
Twice the Feud.
twice the Feud.
Yeah. Good times.
Outstanding.
So, I mean, I'm going to ask you this question, but I think I already know the answer to it because you've been sick. But how was your week?
My week was hell. So for those who don't know, I think most people know, back during 2020 at the beginning of the whole pandemic when there were no vaccines and there was very little information out other than our president telling us to inject bleach into our blood system. I got COVID. I got COVID real bad.
You got COVID at the beginning.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and it's at the same time that sandstorm from like Egypt or wherever it was from had made its way over.
I forgot about that.
Remember that? And then you called me and you're like, I don't feel very well. I'm scared I have COVID. And this was like the bad, like right now is not the bad time to get it.
Yeah.
That was the bad time to
yeah.
get it. And so I was trying to be like consoling. And I'm like, Jeremy, come on. This is not that big of a deal. You don't have COVID. It's probably the sandstorm, and it's just making your throat a little irritated.
When you said that, I heard the Dune song in my head as I'm on the phone dying of COVID.
I will get that when I watch that movie. And yeah, and then so, 15 trips to the hospispital later, you definitely had COVID.
Yeah. And I remember calling you when I got the thing, and I was like, hey, Rick.
I thought maybe my dreams had come true and Kathleen Turner was on the phone.
But it very much felt that way this weekend and part of last week. But I have been tested multiple times, and I am told it is not COVID. It is just the flu. But something that happened.
Well, and if John Oliver taught me anything ever, it was in last night's episode that the medical system never fails.
I didn't watch it last night. I think it's a good thing I didn't then. But one thing that happened this weekend that did not happen when I had COVID, I lost my sense of smell, which I guess was something that is supposed to happen when you get COVID.
See, I was kind of hoping you wouldn't say that you lost your sense of smell, because now people are at home like, what the hell is wrong with Rick? Get out of the small room. You're going to get COVID.
But when I say I've had numerous tests, I mean 5 tests. I took 4 myself. I took one at the hospital. And they're all like, it's negative for COVID.
My favorite thing about this story so far is that when I said we're going to get COVID now, Caitlin just looked over and looked like the Demi Moore tear in Ghost, just the single tear down the face.
It's not bad now.
Have you seen Ghost? Okay, good. I just want to make sure. I'm going to guess it's before Caitlin's time. But, sometimes you're supposed to see things before your time.
Yeah. So I was sick, so spent my week in bed, which is dangerous because being hopped up on Sudafed, my entire day was spent on TikTok going through conspiracy theories of what happened to Kate Middleton.
Oh, yeah.
There's a big royal announcement coming out this week, and they're not saying what it is, but it's rumored that it's either Prince or King Charles is stepping down because he's cancer.
He's got cancer, yeah.
Kate Middleton, her health is worse than what they were leading on, or, which what I think it is, her and William are getting a divorce because he has been seen out and about not wearing a wedding ring. So,
oh, really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's why they haven't shown pictures of her.
And that's why they have not been together. So, yeah, that was my weekend. In bed, covered in sweat, scrolling through Kate Middleton conspiracy theories.
Now, I don't know Prince William at all. I've never met him. We've never had a conversation. He could be the nicest person in the world. But I'm just going to say, like his father, I don't know that you're going to do better than what you've got. So hang on to it.
Yeah.
He was a very handsome young man.
I read in my scrolls, I came across a meme that says, being a millennial and Gen Xer is explaining to Gen Z that Prince William used to be the hot one.
Yeah. Well, that's all superficial stuff. So like I said, he could be
just like the royal family. So you didn't spend your whole week in bed, did you? How was your week?
I did not. Well, I know your week was hell. But all I did was really put a dog to sleep. I don't mean to laugh at that, but I just think it's funny to throw it away like that. No, my little pug Coco passed away. She was 15, almost 16 years old. She was a little delight. It was a little bit of a terror.
She was 15 going on 16?
No, she's just 15. She wasn't going on anything. She had a really good life. She lived a long time. She was really super cute. And for anybody who has a pug, like when pugs get older, they get just round. They're like seals. They're just fat seals, or like a loaf of wheat bread just sitting there. But Coco never had that. She never got more than 8 pounds. She was a tiny little dog. But she just her situation just deteriorated very quickly, and so we had taken her to the vet a couple of days ago to give her these shots because her legs weren't functioning very well, and then just immediately just downhill. She stopped eating, stopped drinking water, couldn't stand up at all. So we took her to the vet, and I just want to tell you this story, if you don't mind, if I may. You have to understand this about me and Jen, is that we use humor to get through difficult situations.
Yeah.
So I don't mean to laugh at this situation. Losing Coco was very, very hard for us. It was a very long, terrible weekend. But we go to take her to the vet, and this poor vet is, he's at this place. It's actually a super gay place. There's a lot of gay people that take their dogs there. In fact, I say it was a terrible weekend, and then I'm going to tell you I went to a brunch party the next day. But everyone there that has animals takes their animals to this place. In fact, a person at this party is like the manager of the vet. And so we had a long talk about it all. It was very nice. So anyway, there's this traveling vet guy who comes in for periods of time, goes to different places, that kind of thing. And he was the only one that was available. So this poor guy has to deal with me and Jen, and Jen's mom went with us. And we get in there, and he's trying to give like solutions to what could be the problem. And I'm looking over at this poor dog, and I'm just like, there is no solution. And finally, I just asked, like, what is any solution going to get us? And he's like, I can't even answer that. I don't even know. Like, probably nothing. And I was like, then why are we going to put this dog through any test whatsoever? And so when we walked in, Coco was like wrapped in a bunch of different blankets and towels because she just didn't have any control over anything. And so it was just to catch anything that's coming out of her body. Like, she was throwing up like crazy and everywhere. So he puts her on the table and does a little examination of her and then says, do you all want some time? And we're like, yeah. And I think he was like asking, like, do you want to hold her again? But he said, he goes, do you want me to leave her on the table or do you want me to put her down? And then immediately, without skipping a beat, Jen goes, well, that's the question, isn't it? And Jen and I just busted out laughing. And the guy was like, oh my God, that's not what I meant. That's not what I meant. And then, of course, Jen's mom was shaking her head and was like, you people, you're terrible people. But, we were just trying to do the best we could.
Lighten the situation
a little bit. So, yeah. So that was really sad. That was tough. And that was pretty much it. I mean, we had reservations to go to Disney the next day. So we went to this brunch thing with Disney, which I'm always a fan of. So I'm just going to say, if you like the Sunbird, just kidding, the Orange Bird. I get made fun of because I called the Orange Bird the Sunbird in front of Caitlin.
And Caitlin made fun of you?
No, she just subtly corrected me. I was like, oh my God, I love that Sunbird thing at Epcot. And she goes, yeah, Orange Bird's one of my favorites. And I went, I see what you did there. I see. That is how you correct your boss. You don't say, strange fact or interesting fact.
Fun fact.
Anybody who says fun fact rarely follows it up with a fun fact.
No.
It's really just, I'm going to correct you.
Yeah.
So anyway, but saw all the merch there. Loved it. It was fun.
Nice.
Had a little St. Patty's Day little moment last night. Do you have any traditions? Is it like
I will normally make do the corned beef and cabbage in the crock pot. Wear green so weirdos and strangers don't come up and pinch me. Do they still do that these days? Because I remember in school and everything, people would come by and pinch you.
I'm sorry, it's cracking me up. You were saying that you make stuff in your crock pot, and I'm assuming that you're in your house.
Yes.
And then you're like, but I wear green so that weirdos don't come up and pinch me. And I'm like, what do? You just open your door and then start making food?
These are separate occasions. Occasions.
All right.
I make corned beef in the crock pot, and I also go out and about and wear green. But no, I don't like. I know it's a big drinking holiday. That and Cinco de Mayo and like any of the holidays around drinking, I try to avoid going out to bars and stuff because people get crazy. They get nuts.
Is there a holiday outside of the United States that people in other countries celebrate as if Americans are alcoholics? Because, we're going to say like, oh, St. Patty's Day, let's get wasted. Oh, Cinco de Mayo, let's get wasted. Like, obviously, it's Americans that like getting wasted.
Yeah.
So do other countries pick a day and say, we're going to get wasted like Americans?
We should start this now. We should start encouraging other countries on the 4th of July or Thanksgiving, one or the other. Hey, celebrate with us and make that year we're going to get belligerently drunk in honor of America.
I think Thanksgiving would be a good one.
Yeah.
I used to have a friend that would celebrate Thanksgiving. That's what he would call doing shots of wild turkey. And that was his question. You want to celebrate Thanksgiving? It was never my thing, though.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I'm like, can I have Orange Crush shot? It's a little better for people like me.
What do you mean, you people?
I think we said that on the last podcast.
Oh, did we?
Yeah, we said something about you people. I think it was about people, or those people, about going to the Central Florida Fair. I will say that it's always good to go back and listen. every now and then. It's fun. We should do it.
Yes. Not only us, but you listening at home. Go back and listen to other ones.
I went back and listened, and I'm looking at the time here, and we're 15 minutes in, and we're about done with our weeks. We were finished with our weeks at 50 minutes last time.
We had a lot to talk about. Well, it was an extended week.
I talked so much. I just want to let everybody know I have no stories. I have nothing to talk about.
You got them all.
This is going to be the shortest 40-minute podcast we've ever done.
I will say something else I did while I was my life was draining out of me. I fed into my Lego addiction, and I put my PlayStation up on Macari to purchase because I'm trying to do this thing where I don't use my credit cards to buy Lego anymore. So I'm like, I need to be a grown up. And I need to be fiscally responsible. So no big, huge purchases on credit cards for a while until I get my debt down. So this new Lego set came out for the Batman, the animated series, the big piece that hangs on the wall. I packed my PlayStation up and I sold it. It sold in like 20 minutes. I was pleasantly surprised how quickly it sold.
Yeah, somebody probably packed up all their Legos and sold them so they could buy a PlayStation.
We should have just done an exchange. So it kind of fed into that selling bug. So I think I'm going to start selling a lot more shit on Macari now. Just going to start pulling shit off my shelves and wrapping it.
As an alcoholic, it is not, I think it is against the rules for me to tell people that they have a problem with anything. But I would say if you get to the point where you start selling plasma so that you can buy Legos, let's have a conversation.
Well, they won't take my plasma. But it's funny you say that because I have certain family members who, leading up to vacations, will sell plasma to get extra money for the vacation. My sister, I'm going to Philadelphia next month with my sister, and I was talking to her. She's like, "I'm getting ready. I've donated plasma twice already."
Take a couple of candy bars with you in case she's a little faint while you're walking around.
So she's not going to remember anything, but she's going to have plenty of funds out there.
Are you gonna go see Mark Siegel while you're there?
Probably not.
Right. Go knock on his door. He's got like outside of their offices, they have a historic monument plaque.
Yeah. Well, I was there last year for the National Journalism Convention.
NGLJA.
Yeah, and we saw the plaque, and they took us around and showed us a bunch of stuff. And my sister's a huge history buff. She loves historical stuff. So when she found out I went, she's like, "Oh, we should go back and you can show me everything." So Visit Philly is who flew me up there. They were really great, gracious. So I reached back out to them and I was like, "Hey, I'm coming up there with my sister. So if there's anything historically that ideas that you can give us, we want to try looking at stuff that's not like the typical. We're going to go see, Independence Hall and Liberty Bell. So hopefully they'll come back and say, "Hey, here's some cool Philly stuff that you guys should try out." But yeah, while we were up there, we did all the gay stuff because it was for LGBT. So my sister and I are going to do a lot of history stuff. We'll get a little gay stuff in though. But it'd be good. It'd be a fun trip.
Right on. It was for LGBT. I like that statement because that's like, you didn't say LGBT stuff. You just said that's for LGBT, which again, I said this in the last episode, but it reminds me of how I think my father would explain the Pride Parade to me. It's for the LGBT. Well, I just ask about St. Patrick's Day because we have a tradition. We have corned beef. I wanted to say hash, but that sounds delicious.
Corned beef hash?
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I don't know why I said it like that. Corned beef, cabbage, potatoes, soda bread. We do the whole thing with Jen's mom. That was nice. It was nice for us all to get together too and sort of had dinner and everything since Friday when we had to say goodbye to Coco.
Yeah.
I can tell you though, I feel for anyone. I don't really respond a lot on Facebook to people, but if somebody loses a pet, if you have not lost a pet, then and you've never experienced that, then you may not know how absolutely awful it is.
Yeah. What do you do with the remains? Because I know like different people have different things that they'll just.
I mean, what do I do with them?
Like not you I mean, like what do you keep their do you have a cremate and keep their ashes? Do you just give them?
Yeah, there's options, right? That you could do. I'll tell you this though. the person came in because like once we made the decision, then it was like, I mean, everybody's coming in and like, hey, okay, let's talk about what's going on. And once we made the decision that it was time, then every time somebody walked into the room after that, it was, hey. And we're just like, okay, I appreciate it, but... And then the only thing I can think of at this vet, they've got this thing on the table, on the main desk, and it's got all these fairy lights in it, and it's like looks like a block of some kind of ice or something like that. And it just says if these lights are on, then somebody's losing, a pet that they love. So please be considerate and keep the noise level down. And once we made that decision, all I could think about was, I wonder if those lights are on right now. They were. I saw them when I left. But so she came in and she's like, hey, and she's got this box of like boxes that you can put ashes in. Yeah. And so she starts to go through her spiel, and I was just like, I think Jen was making a joke about something, honestly, and I was just like, I just stepped in, and I'm like, we'll take that box. I was like, this is our 4th time in the last couple of years being here because we had 4 dogs, and they all are nearly around the same ages, so it's just basically like every year it's been like lost. And so I just said, we'll take that one because that's the same one that Crypto had, and we'll do the single burial thing. Oh, I think this is why we were laughing, or why Jen was laughing, because she came in and she goes, so do you know what you want to do with the ashes? Do you want us to spread them somewhere? And Jen's face was like, where? I thought, like, what would we say? Yes. Yeah. We would love for you to spread them in Hawaii. She loved Hawaii. So just get on a plane. No. So, but you can do like, I guess it's how much you want to spend on it, but you could do a private cremation, or you can do a cremation, I guess, with all the dogs that died that week. And then they'll scoop up a few ashes and put in a thing and give to you. What? Totally true.
That seems weird.
Like a Potter, was it Potter's Field?
Potter's Field, yeah. Potter's
that sort of thing. So, so those are awesome. But we always do the private thing, give them, put them at so we'll have 4 of them. And so now that the group of the 4 of them are all gone, there's a place where you can send the ashes, and they will make glass art with their ashes. And that's what we're going to do.
Nice. What kind of art? What does it look like?
It's like they're called like eternal flames. They're like, I mean, there's specific things. It's not like you're gonna just like talk to an artist and say, hey, do this. Like, make it into a pug. Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah, make it into like a little glass dog or something.
Yeah, or a cannon. I don't
know 4
of
them. Make 4 legs for a little table.
What would you do for a top? Oh, no.
What do any of us do for a top?
Sign on to Grindr? I don't know. Anyway.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, I appreciate that. I do.
I've had the opportunity to dog sit Coco a couple of times. And she was a delightful dog. Didn't give me any troubles.
The last time that we left and you dog sat for us,
I was terrified.
I remember telling you. I remember telling you that there's a chance she may not make it.
I love pet sitting. I don't have pets of my own, so it's nice to for a week watch somebody's cat or somebody's dog. My greatest fear is their pet dying while they're on vacation, and I'm in their charge. I'm like, oh God.
I think if the dog's 15 years old, you're gonna be fine. Now, if the dog's 2, you might have something to answer for.
Yeah. And not so much that they would be like, oh, you killed my dog. It's just like coming home to that dead animal, and it's not mine. I don't want to be the one that breaks that news.
Right. Well, then when do you break the news?
You don't want to ruin their vacation.
Right. Let's just say somebody just left for a 2-week cruise. On day 3, their pet passes away. I mean, and what are they going to do? Fly home at the next port?
Yeah.
They're just going to spend the whole time. Yeah.
So my thought, I would just continue watching your house with nothing in it, apparently.
Would you No, you would totally weekend at Bernie's that thing. You would stand that dog up and throw a toy at it, like get a string, tie it around it, and like pull it so it looks like it's running for the ball.
Probably, yeah. I don't want to ruin others' vacations.
Having a great time.
Hey, look at us. We're having fun.
You're like, fetch. You throw it. The dog just...
Oh. Anyway,
poor
very
Coco.
sad. All
May
very
she
sad.
rest in peace.
Yes.
All right, so I guess we'll jump right into our.
Sorry, I apologize for all the sniffling going on. If it makes it easier, anyone listening, pretend I'm crying for the loss of Coco, and that I'm not sick.
It's the same sounds.
It is.
You know, whenever we're watching a show and something really sad is happening and somebody starts crying, like convulsively crying in the show, I inevitably will go out loud. What's so funny? Yeah.
Speaking of funny, Feud.
I don't think that word means what you think it means.
Well, some of it was funny.
Yeah.
Probably unintentional.
I only made one note.
Just one?
On
This
the-
is going to be a short podcast.
On episode 7.
Okay. Yes, because it wrapped up this past week, the 8-episode run for this season. We didn't talk about last week's episode, so we're going to talk about episodes 7 and 8 together, which ended up being a good thing because they're kind of...
It's so weird.
Yeah, the way that they did it, it basically is all intertwined as one episode anyway.
If you've seen them, then you might be aware that episode 7 probably should have played after episode 8.
Yeah.
Or at least, like, I don't know.
Or like the first half
first
of
half-
episode 8 should have played before the second half of episode 7.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so episode 7 opens with Babe. Well, she realizes, right, she's combing her hair and her hair starts coming out.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, I thought I had that rich people chemo that kept your hair in your head, but she doesn't. So she's like,
Rich people keep.
yeah. So she's like, remember this is what she told her doctor. She was
She's
like,
this is not the chemo I signed up for.
Right. So she goes to her doctor, and the doctor's like, you're not going to live to Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Which we assume
You
by
have 6 months to
which
live.
is like within the 6 months or something. So she goes from the doctor. She's back at her house, and she's telling this to her husband, and the husband, she starts to smoke, and the husband's like, why are you still smoking? Like, you have cancer. Why are you still doing this? And he says, was it so bad living? Was it so bad with me you wanted to kill yourself? And she goes, yes.
Yeah.
That's my note. I thought that was hilarious.
You know what? I have a note there as well in that scene, because as they're talking and they're arguing, Babe talks about how she misses Truman. And she said, I missed that laugh. And I said out loud, really?
Yeah.
The laugh?
And then after you said that, every time that he laughed in a scene after that, I went, that's it. That's what she misses.
Sorry, babe. Never hear that laugh again. Yeah, so it opens. Babe has 6 months to live. So she decides she wants to throw.
This is very Moulin Rouge of you. You just forgot when you coughed into it.
To show, it's funny you say that, because I was going to mention that I had lasagna soup for lunch, and I obviously had a little sauce on my lips. So after I finished it, I went to cough, and then I wiped my mouth, and it came out, and it had the sauce on it. And my first thought was like, "Oh my god, I'm like Moulin Rouge. I have the consumption." So yeah, speaking of ladies dying. Babe, she's got 6 months to live.
Spoiler alert. No.
So she wants to throw a party. They all get together. Her and the Swans get together at the restaurant, and she's like, I want to throw a big party. And they're like, oh, delightful. And she's like, it'll be this summer. And they're like, fantastic. And she said, because that's when I'll be dead. And they're like, aw.
Oh, babe.
Oh, babe. So she, because she's, a weirdo perfectionist, and she's like, I'm going to plan my own funeral, and I want everything to be perfect. So, one of the I wrote this note down here between that and her going to, because she goes up to her country home. I wrote this note here, so I don't know exactly where it happened, but she wants to reconcile with her daughter. So, her husband calls the daughter, and she said, he's like, you need to come down. She doesn't have much to live. And she says, maybe I'll come down when you can hear her death rattle. And I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
So yeah, Babe goes up to her country home. Both of these episodes are very weird, because parts of it I don't know if it's supposed to be real life, because there's a lot of dream sequences and they're hallucinating as they're dying. But she goes up there and she's having dinner with, I think, the help are at the table, because the people at the dinner table are much more diverse than the people she's hung out this whole
100%. And their clothes indicate that they're in a different social class.
Yes.
Than what she's used to.
So I'm not sure if she actually was having dinner with everybody.
There's no way that was happening. Because she was at that house. And just maybe the only other people at the house were the help.
And maybe she didn't want to eat alone, but it kept going back and forth. So she was like at the apartment, and then she's like death rattling, and then she's at the country home. Truman's there.
Oh,
he's
you know
not
what?
there.
That didn't actually happen, because she went immediately from the dinner table to the deathbed. So there's no way that was a real scene.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. There's the cutting and the editing in these last 2 episodes. I don't know what's real and I don't know what's not.
Yeah, they took a whole episode and put it at the end.
Yeah.
That should have been,
It's ridiculous. So there's this whole scene.
Caitlin just leaned over. It was all duck-lipped and be like, they messed that up.
So Babe is in her apartment, and Truman's there. And this is her, I guess, moving on. He's deaf. Maybe death has taken the face of Truman to lead her on.
Well, it definitely took his face a few minutes later.
So there's this really lovely scene where they talk to each other and reconcile. All of the reconciliations are fabricated in here. Apparently nobody made up with anybody in real life. So they talk about, she's like, you're one of my top 3. She loves him more than her husband and children, probably. And it's just a very weird dream sequence of looking at fireworks and drawing bats and all sorts of shit. And then she dies. But the daughter comes in right at the death rattle.
She did not
kept
lie.
her word.
She did. She looked all sad though.
Yeah, she did look like, like she
did,
regretted
like,
not coming.
I wanted the whole rattle.
Yeah.
And all I got was the tail end of it.
Yeah. It's like when you're ringing a bell and it stops. And it's like that last ding, 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 ding. That's when she came in. And she's like, I want the full ding, ling, ling, ling,
Bring
ling,
her
ling.
back.
So Babe's dead. Sorry, Babe. So CZ goes to tell Truman that she died. Excuse me, I'm getting a little verklempt over this.
You're so sad.
I know.
That next Monday we're going to have to find something new to talk about because we won't have a feud.
So he gets up out of bed and he's like, I'm going to start writing her eulogy. Like he's going to go to the damn funeral. They're not going to let you go.
I know. I like the way, you know what it reminds me of? The way that CZ tells Truman that he can't go reminds me a lot of the way that Caitlin told me I had the name of that bird wrong.
Because he's like, I have to write the eulogy. She's like, oh, read it for me.
Yeah.
Because you're not going.
He's like, I have to get it out. I have to get it out.
Yeah. She's like, read it to me, Truman. And she's crying as he's reading it. And at first I was like, oh, she must be moved by these words that aren't moving me. And then I realized she's the only one who forgave him. And she's probably thinking, I came back to you and you're sitting here reading this whole eulogy about how Babe was the woman of your life. What about me? What about me who came and hung out with you when none of the other swans would, and hung out with you and took you drinking and took you dining? So I think the tears were, that was real nice. Thanks for stabbing me in the back, Truman.
Yeah, you bring up an interesting point. Why was she not ostracized from the other swans for hanging out with him?
Yeah. I think because they really liked her, maybe. I don't know.
Did she seem that likable?
This is terrible to say because I'm sure she's a lovely person, but that actress, everything I see her in, does not come across as likable to me.
Oh, I do like her, though. She's good. Wasn't she? She played the girlfriend in Boys Don't Cry.
And she's been in several seasons of American Horror Story. And she's a good actress, but there's just something about, she always plays characters that are very off-putting to me.
She's one of those people. It's like Paul Giamatti. If they're in a movie, you know it's going to be good.
Yeah. Sorry.
We'll just apologize to everybody for
Sorry.
all the noises that
Sorry
are.
for the dad noises I
We'll
keep
see-
making over
We'll
here.
see if Caitlin can lower some of those as in the editing process.
So we go to Babe's funeral, and do you want to take it from here? Because I'm going to attend to my nose.
Well, I can talk, but I don't know what you want to say about Babe's funeral.
It
Except
happened.
It happened. And I guess the interesting thing about it, if that's all, is that you'd kind of discover that Babe was the glue that held the
Yeah.
swans together, and that at they were all like, well, she's gone, but we should keep doing lunch, and then they can't agree on when to go, and they're just like, well, we'll figure it out, which maybe makes you think that was the end of it.
Yeah, that's the feeling. Yeah, I got. This is the last time they all probably saw each other.
Yeah.
Definitely for the show. I don't know if in real life maybe they kept hanging out. I don't know. I don't know these people. But for the show, that's the implication.
For the
came.
purposes of this podcast, whatever is in the shows is
what happened.
exactly what happened.
So next, then Truman flew away out of the window.
Like Peter Pan.
So then it goes to Truman's death, and he's in California.
Like immediately.
Yeah, it's like, okay, we saw Babe die. Now we're gonna show you how Truman died. And you made a point of this earlier when we start talking about the eighth season. God, could you imagine watching 8 seasons worth of this? When we talk about the 8th episode, it happens between this part. So it's like this fraction of a second from Babe died into Truman's death. That fraction of a second becomes most of episode 8.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Truman is in California with Joanna Carson, whom I love Molly Ringwald, and I'm sure Joanna Carson was a lovely woman, but I got the feeling that she was like backup swan. When none of the other swans would deal with Truman, he's like, I guess I'll hang out with Joanne.
You know, like her generosity towards him does not come across as generosity. It comes across as thirst.
Yeah, she's like desperate to be one
Yeah.
of his swans.
Yeah.
So he goes
even
out-
more so than Demi Moore's character.
Yes. So he goes out there, and he's supposed to be out there detoxing and working on his book. He is not detoxing.
That has
at
always
all.
worked for him.
Yeah.
So I can see why he would do it.
So he ends up falling in the pool, and he's like burning up. He's got a fever. And do you know how you quench a fever? If you're Joanna Carson, cola. She's like, you're burning up, Truman. Let me grab you a Coke.
Right.
So she does that. And Babe comes to collect Truman in his dyingness, like he did for her. And the final scene is them walking on the beach, and he says, "My beautiful Babe," hence the name of this episode.
You know, I don't know if this was in episode 7 or 8. I know it was in 8, and I just don't know if they did it in episode 7 because they just kind of showed him die.
Yeah,
But he's walking on the beach with Babe.
yeah,
And but in episode 8, they show like he's talking, and she's like, "What's he saying? What's he saying?" And he's like, "Babe." While she's taking care of him, the
Yeah.
only one that'll take care of him, she must have felt the same way Cece did.
Yeah.
Like, you son of a bitch.
all these women
Like-
were like, "I will be your Babe replacement," and he's like, "I don't want a replacement. I want my Babe back."
It was very Grey's Anatomy, though, to be on like that New England beach setting.
I don't watch Grey's Anatomy unless it is in quick 30-second bursts on TikTok. I don't know why this is so popular, but they will put entire episodes of Grey's Anatomy on TikTok in 30-second clips, and I've watched probably 5 or 6 episodes of Grey's Anatomy this way. I need to know why that guy went to the hospital and killed everybody.
Oh, that was a good episode where he shot McDreamy.
Yeah, I watched the whole thing on
While
TikTok.
she was on that
On the catwalk,
or she was
the
watching,
bridge
and she's
thing,
like,
yeah.
Yeah, he lived. Well, for that time.
Don't spoil it. That TikTok hasn't come out yet.
You know what's funny? You didn't watch John Oliver, but he was talking about TikTok and the possible ban.
Yeah.
And he said, now, if the only way that you watch this show is in 30-second clips on TikTok, and then they go to like a TikTok screen and he starts doing like this and words are popping up, and he's like, I'm never doing that again. So it's funny that you mentioned that.
But yeah, so episode 8 pops up 1984. and it says the year of Truman Capote's death. And my first thought when I was watching was like, wasn't that last episode? Didn't we watch him die already?
Right. And then it's like, it's so weird because it's like he's sober and he's been sober for 3 months, and you're like, well, I just saw him drink himself to death. What's going on?
It's very chaotic. It's like they Ryan Murphy, I forgot his name for a second. Ryan Murphy watched every Quentin Tarantino film. He's like, I could do that. And they're like, well, we're almost done with this season, Ryan. He's like, all right, just do it with the last 2 episodes then. Because it bounces all over the place. I don't like it.
For some reason, this has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but it popped in my head. And if anybody knows this, you're going to... What were we watching recently? Was it the Oscars or
yes,
something?
Yes, we were watching that recently.
Where's... Oh, thanks for clearing that up. Go ahead. Where...
Truman.
Who wrote Memento?
Oh, Christopher Nolan, yeah.
Okay, yeah. That was it.
Memento, that was a good movie. Is anybody gay in that?
I just want to mention this, okay?
Christopher Nolan needs to put some gays in his movie so we can talk about them.
I know I said I wouldn't talk about things like this, but I'm just going to say this one thing. I kind of, smoked a little and watched...
Today?
Yeah. Can you tell? And I watched Memento.
Yeah.
Just a little bit high. And it's already a confusing movie.
Yeah.
That I did not know what was happening. I could not fathom any of it. And then every once in a while, somebody in the room would be like, oh, I get it. And then they'd be like, see that? No. And then like all of a sudden, and like we all kept doing it.
I want to watch a room full of high people watch Memento. That's what I want to watch.
In 30-second spots on TikTok.
Yeah, just scrolling through TikTok. Have you ever intentionally gotten high to watch a movie other than Memento? Like, is that something you did I don't know why I'm doing this, on a regular basis?
I was like, I don't know how you get high, but I don't think that's it.
That's how I smoke.
It looks like something else going on with Oompa Loompas or something.
That's my Donald Trump dance. No, when I was... And I can't remember. It was either Sausage. You remember the movie Sausage Party?
Yes.
I love that movie. It was either that movie or This Is the End. I know it involved Seth Rogen. But my roommate at the time, I had 2 roommates. The 3 of us for my birthday went to see one of those movies. And one of my roommates, the one who liked to get high, had me get high with him. We went to the Point, Orlando. And behind the movie theater, they got those long staircases. We went back there and smoked a joint. And my other roommate, who's a goody two-shoes, she's like, I'm not going to smoke. We got high and then went and watched that movie. And funniest damn movies I've ever seen, both of them. But we were absolutely ridiculous. And I was like, that's the last time I get high to watch a movie. Because I know that people hated us.
I will tell you this. I did do something mind-altering to go see a movie, specifically. And timed it... so that I could have lunch and then go to the movie. So we were going to the Olive Garden, and we were like, oh, let's just do this, and then we'll go to the Olive Garden. By the time we get there, we'll be in,
Did you go to Olive Garden and have their mushroom risotto?
So while we were there, it took forever for the food to get out. And so by the time the food got out, we're like our minds were a little mushy at the time. So we're like, can we just get all this to go? We didn't eat anything. And then we go to the movie theater, and it was so weird. Like, I got lost in the parking lot, and I ended up in like it was like going to I think it was Universal. We were going to the movies maybe, and I ended up like in employee parking, and like so some employee was walking up to me, and I'm like, I don't know, what am I supposed to say? And this girl was like, shut, don't say a word, I'll talk. I was like, And so, but then we get in there and we get ices, right, to go and see this movie. And I just felt like the whole time that it was getting all over me. We laughed so hard, and people must have hated. I can't imagine it was fun for anybody but us. Galaxy Quest. In this frame of mind, the funniest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, as somebody, and I think you're this way also, as somebody who likes people not to be loud and obnoxious when you go to the movies. I'm sure we were terrible.
Right, which is why I always say, if somebody's talking around me, it's karma. I earned it. I'll live in it. Now, I feel like I must say this, and drugs are bad, okay?
Yeah, it's true. They are.
If you are young and listening to this, don't be like us.
Don't. Don't be better than us.
Yes. Whitney Houston believes you are the future.
So the last episode of Feud. We went off on a little tangent there. So so he's laying on Babe's grave, and he's like, "I miss you, Babe." And then they flash back, and this episode was like totally like a mind trip, because parts of it I think were like they're chapters from his book, but they're also real life. I don't know what was real in this, but he basically says he goes to see Jack and crashes his little dinner date, and says that he's almost done with answered prayers, and it's going to be his apology. And Jack's like,
Jack was not friendly.
No, he was done with him.
Yeah.
And I can see why. His little boyfriend, he was like, "Oh my God, come have dinner with us. I've always wanted to chat with you." And Jack's like, "Good God.
Yeah.
I can't with this kid." He basically said, "Do you expect anyone to accept your apology? Because, nobody wants to hear from you anymore. They're done with you.
Yeah.
And you should move on." So then it goes to he's talking about, I guess they're what he manifested in his head is what he thought how the apologies would go, but they're the characters from his book, Answered Prayer, and not the real people.
100%. Yeah, it was definitely, this, I'm going to wrap this up in a way that explains to everybody why I did it, and it's this big apology tour, and it's all fiction, but it's going to be great, and everybody's going to love it.
Yeah, so he wraps up his CZ storyline by the two of them heading out to a cowboy bar and selling off her nude portrait.
Yeah, her Titanic moment.
Yeah, her Titanic moment to the bartender for 2 shots of whiskey. So good for him. I thought that was pretty good.
I kind of liked the bartender.
Yeah, not bad looking.
No, not bad looking and fun. He's just kind of like, all right.
I want to go to that bar.
I want your naked painting. We'll put it above the juke.
Yeah.
As he said.
Then Truman's mom pops in here occasionally as he's writing his chapters.
Can I just, I noticed that I did make notes and I haven't brought any of them up.
Oh,
so I just wanted to
by all
backtrack
means.
a second.
Yeah.
And remember when she died and he went to visit her grave?
Yes.
What's up with the headstone?
What did
Wasn't
it
she
say?
like a millionaire?
Oh, because it's so cheap looking?
Yes.
Yeah. Her husband was probably like, after that fight, he's like, "Well, I didn't love you either."
Oh, goodness. So then he notices there's carnations at the grave.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, and he throws the carnations away from the grave. And then he reads the card, and it was one of the Astors, who are also rich people.
Yeah.
That left carnations. That's funny.
Are those a cheap flower? I'm not a flower guy, but are carnations a cheap flower?
I mean, I think so.
Is that why kids give them to each other at prom?
Yes. Or like, in high school during Valentine's Day, and they do like the love singing grams or whatever, and somebody brings a carnation to somebody for $1. Yeah. Who's Kiki in the thing? Is there a Kiki? I must have wrote this down wrong. Maybe I meant CZ.
Maybe.
What was Slim's real name?
Slim. Slim Keith.
Under the bee. Slim.
Oh, Nancy. Nancy Slim Keith.
I wrote down I like the Kiki moment, but I don't know what that was for. It was one of the forgiveness stories.
Oh, maybe they were having a Kiki?
That I thought, I wonder if that's where Let's Have a Kiki comes from.
Yes. I don't think there's anybody named Kiki in this show.
Maybe I took a little something before
Maybe you
this
smoked
show.
some before this show. So as he's writing the chapter, he's hallucinating his mom, who encourages him to drink while he's writing it out. Because she comes in after the CZ scene, and she's like, "I don't like the book so far. You need to drink, because much like this podcast, it's not very good until you drink." And she tells him,
yeah, my friends, they never enjoy this podcast.
She tells him to make it less fruity, because I guess the popping up into a cowboy bar and selling nude pictures of ladies is a little too fruity for her. So he goes to Slim, the Slim part. He sees her in the street. She yells at him and slaps him. And then they go back to her apartment and throw expensive china at the wall. And then she forgives him, which I'm pretty sure that didn't happen in real life.
Why was she moving? She was poor?
Yeah, they didn't really say why, but yeah, she was moving to a tiny little apartment in San Francisco.
Because he ruined her life and nobody will hire her.
So now she's poor.
But then she fake became like a ambassador or something.
Something, yeah.
Yeah. Something important. No, she was teaching etiquette at the White House. Something like that.
Yeah.
No.
Anyway, so he throws her her own black and white ball, and they dance, and he wraps up that nice little storyline. It's like, oh, fix that one, check.
Guess who didn't like it?
Mother.
His dead mother.
Mm-hmm. So they go back to the mother. Another flashback. She's seducing a man, and little Capote's like, let me in the room, Mom.
Wouldn't it be awesome if that's how he talked when he was a kid too? And it's like, I can see it in the people.
But yeah, it's just very weird, just all over the place.
I think that the purpose of it is just to show you that his mother was awful to him.
Yeah.
And everything he learned about how to be awful to people was through his mother. And that he never escaped the cruelty of her.
Yeah.
And that ruined his whole life. Like, I'm going to imagine that his dead mother cannot pick up glasses and put ice and alcohol in them and give them to him, so that he must have, but in his brain, she was doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, because he was sober, and then she's like, she reads the story, like the chapter of Slim, and she's like, this is stupid. You need this. And so he's like, okay. And then he drinks it, and so now he's drinking again, and at least all right.
Yeah. Now, my favorite part of the little flashbacks or the forgiveness tour is when he goes and his little scene with Jackie O's sister, Lee.
Yes.
Lee something? What is her last name? Raswell? Him and Lee are together, and she forgives him, and he says, I'm going to help you to throw your homosexual husband out, because she's married to a homosexual. So I looked into it, and she was actually married to a gay man. He's a Hollywood director, Herbert Ross, who directed Footloose and Steel Magnolias.
No way.
Yeah. I was looking through that. I was like, she was Jackie O's sister, was married to Herbert Ross, a gay director.
You know what was interesting to me was like to realize the time of death of all of these people, and that 84. I mean, I was 9 years old when Capote died.
Yeah.
I mean, I probably saw him on the Johnny Carson show. I used to watch it.
Yeah. I mean, all of it, because at the end of the episode, they go through when each one of them died. The most recent one was 2019.
Yeah.
Lee Raswell died. Pretty sure that's not her name.
It's not. I think it's start with a T. I don't know. Traswell.
I don't. No, Raswell. Lee Rad R-E. Jesus. Radziwill. In Cincinnati.
Welcome to our first annual spelling bee.
Anyway, so yeah, he directed Footloose, and also found out the guy who directed Footloose also directed Steel Magnolias. Had no idea.
So now that we know that it was directed by a gay man, we can cover Footloose
We can
on the podcast. Yay!
So Truman's mom killed herself. Takes a bunch of pills. And then the rest of the episode is just the repeat from the last episode of Truman's
death. Which is
death.
so weird.
It's like, how do we wrap this up? Just run the last 5 minutes. Nobody watched the episode last week.
Yeah. It's like they ran out of, money or time.
Yeah, that's why it's such a cheap headstone. They're like, wouldn't she have a bigger headstone, Ryan? I ain't got no more money.
Not in the budget.
So it actually ends in 2016. The ghosts of the swans are at an auction house, and they auction off Truman Capote's ashes.
Is this real?
I mean, it has to be. Ryan wouldn't lie about this.
Why would anyone want Truman
I don't
Capote's
know.
ashes?
Caitlin, Google that. Did somebody actually buy Truman Capote's ashes for $45,000?
In this show, the girl that he was making into a model, right? The daughter of. Was that the guy's daughter and son?
I don't know if maybe it was his son, but yeah, the one he was making a model, she was bidding on it.
She
but
really
got
wanted
outbid.
the ashes.
Yeah.
But she could only spend $11,000. After that, she was out.
So I'm guessing she's still alive in real life because they didn't mention her at all because they run through the list of the years all the swans died.
I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
That they did that. It was much like did you ever watch 6 Feet Under?
Yeah, the ending, it just runs down when they all
One
died.
of the greatest endings of a TV show ever.
Yeah.
Because the whole show was based on people dying. It was about an undertaker. And
it's true.
Oh.
Actually,
it's
somebody
true,
paid
not just
$45,000.
that 6 Feet Under ended that way, but that somebody bought Truman Capote's ashes. Does it say who? Anonymous buyer. I'm
So
just
they're
so curious
out there.
as to
probably
who-
the same person who has the damn manuscript to the book that he never published.
What if? No, I was thinking, what if when I get Coco's ashes back, it's actually Truman Capote? Yeah. So I thought about you at the end of the show because at the very end of it, at this auction house at the back, all the swans are there.
Yes.
And they're being catty bitches about everything, about what people are wearing, how there's like society has ended.
People suck these days. New York is terrible.
And I was like, I figured he would hate that bullshit ending of uppity bitches yammering about how terrible everybody else is.
Get back to heaven. No one wants to hear from you.
Is that where they were?
Probably not.
The book is all dogs go to heaven, not all swans.
But the episode, the season, the series ends with just the manuscript of Answered Prayers has never been found. So they published the unfinished version. So the chapters he had published in Esquire, they published in 86, the unfinished version. And I guess over the couple of years, they found a few other chapters and mentions of other chapters. So I don't know. If you're out there and you have the final manuscript, let's read it. Send us an email. Or if you're the one who purchased his ashes, shoot us a message and let us know why.
I'm curious.
Yeah.
Real curious.
We won't tell anyone else. Just tell us.
Like, I want it to be like a descendant of the actress. And I just wanted them to like spread his ashes in the yard and then like, piss on it or something.
I want it to be the daughter of whoever Demi Moore played.
That's what I mean.
And I want them to use his ashes as an ashtray.
Yeah, something like that. You know what I mean? Like I want like it to be Woodard. Is that her last name?
Woodward.
Woodard.
And Woodward.
We're just gonna keep saying Woodard and Woodward over and over until
Woodward.
Until somebody tells us.
Yeah.
So you know what? I looked it up and it ended 1 point less than it's been running. So the Rotten Tomatoes 86 critics has been stable for a while, and I think it was 84 audience, and it ended 83 audience.
Yeah, I mean, not as bad as I thought it was going to end up being. Not as great as it probably could have been if someone else other than Murphy did it.
When I saw the preview for it, I had such high expectations.
Yeah.
And it didn't meet those, but I'm not mad that I watched it.
Yeah, it was fine.
I think that he's going to be up. I mean, it's going to be hard to beat him in the Emmys.
Yeah, it's
and the Golden
interesting
Globes.
because even though it's still many months away, if you go to goldderby.com, where's the website that keeps track of the odds for award shows, he's considered in a tie with John Hamm from Fargo to be nominated and win for best actor in a
That wasn't last season? Last year?
No.
For John Hamm?
No, it was for the Golden Globes for this year. It wasn't in
okay.
time for the
Emmys. Okay.
It's going to seem weird, like a lot of things would have already been in contention for Emmys because the Emmys were supposed to happen in September, but got pushed to January because of the writer strike. So all of the votes were in already by September. They just sat on them for 5 months, so that didn't get in.
Much like the IRS and the ERCT credits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly like that.
Hey, listen, if you enjoy this and you work for the IRS, go ahead and look up Watermark. Find out where our ERCT credit is.
But what's interesting is because the way it times out, this show will compete against Fellow Travelers for miniseries.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we'll see.
Well, I'm gonna say I think that Fellow Travelers is a better miniseries,
Yes.
but I think that as far as acting goes, that Tom Hollander
Yes.
is probably gonna he
Probably.
will be above.
And I will say, for right now, in the rankings of things, Naomi Watts is being talked about for Best Actress.
She was great.
And Diane Lane and Chloe Savini, I think is how you say it. They're both kind of in contention for supporting actress. So
I wish Demi Moore was.
yeah, I don't think she had enough screen. She should have had more screen time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked her character, except at the end I didn't like. It was, I guess they were comparing her to Capote's mom, which is probably why he hated her so much. And so when the two of them were like laughing at him, I was like, okay, I see it.
Yeah.
But I liked her better when she was like the
Crazy.
underdog and why are you doing this to me, instead of like, you're right, I am like your mom.
Yeah. But, check it out. If you haven't seen the first season between Betty Davis and Joan Crawford, watch that also and compare them. I like the first season better than this one, but,
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the next thing that we were going to talk about, which honestly I have like pages and pages of notes, but
Yeah.
I either didn't print them out or I printed them out and I didn't get them off the printer. So I may have to run out in a second and see. Or I'm going to do this 100% from memory.
yeah.
But it was suggested to us by a listener that we do Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe.
Yes. A 2022 coming of age romantic drama. That is supposedly, good Lord, I do not have words today. Is based on a book series that came out in like 2012. Book same name, and then there's a sequel book called Aristotle and Dante Dive into the Waters of the World that came out in 2021. So maybe we'll read that, or we'll wait till they make that into a movie.
So, so after discovering the secrets of the universe,
Yeah.
not to give anything away, then they continue into the ways of water,
the waters of the world.
All right. Well,
They're following the guidelines of Avatar.
apparently there's nothing they can't do.
Do you want us to lead this one? Sorry.
I don't know. You always do such a better job at it. I like to go through the cast and tell everybody like how I know these people from.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So this stars Aristotle, or the show is Aristotle and Dante, which are they're high schoolers that meet during the summer of '87.
Yes.
And
Dadu.
and then there's this total eclipse. Now, Max Paleo is Aristotle, and I'm gonna guess that this is one of the first 2 or 3 credits that this guy's ever had. I think he was 19 when this came out, and it was one of the first things that he's ever had because I did not recognize the other one. So this must have been the first one. So he stars in it, and Reese Gonzalez plays Dante. The only thing that I know that he was in, this is very early in both of their careers.
Yeah.
But he was in The Terminal List. Did you ever see that?
No. What is
The
that?
Terminal List with Chris Pratt, and it's like that. I feel like I'm getting it confused with that futuristic war. But The Terminal List, I watched it because he plays the guy from the military, and there was some like all of the people in his battalion died, or I don't know. Battalion's probably not the right word.
I'll look into it.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
Yeah.
But anyway, he is in that. I imagine that he played his kid because he would have been very young at the time. But it seems like both of them are at the beginning of their careers. But Dante's parents are played by Eva Longoria.
Yeah.
Which she's great.
I did recognize her. She's the only one in this movie who I recognized.
Well, that's because you don't watch terrible television on Paramount Plus like I do.
That is
Which,
true.
by the way, y'all know every time I tell you I like a show on Paramount Plus, one of you is always like, oh, my mom likes that. My mom watches that. So I was saying something about Paramount Plus over the weekend at my softball game, and somebody yelled, yeah, like all moms around the country. And I was like, why is this a mom's channel? I don't understand. I love it. So anyway, Kevin Alejandro, who plays his father, is in Fire Country, which if you don't watch Fire Country, which you don't, it's the show that you want to watch and you have to, but you hate it. Like, it's just the most absurd, ridiculous storylines that just it's so absurd. But I watch it, I enjoy it. They play Dante's parents. And then Luna Blaze, she plays. Okay, so there's that scene at that party, the girl that kisses Aristotle.
Yeah.
She was in Manifest. She had a bigger role in Manifest, but she was in this for a brief amount of time. Apparently her goal in this movie is to get him killed by a gang.
Yeah.
Which I find very odd. And then Marlene Forte, or Fort, however you want to pronounce it, played Tia Ophelia, who was Aristotle's grandmother.
What is she in?
She was in Fear the Walking Dead. Did you ever watch Fear the Walking Dead?
No.
And like the first season when they go up and they end up in some like Mexican ranch kind of a place, and she was the head of that. I recognized as soon as I saw that, I was like, that's where I know her from. So anyway, that was kind of cool. The annoying girl in the show is, do you know the annoying girl, the one who's like wants to have all the gossip?
Yeah.
Of the two girls, she played Adam Goldberg's girlfriend in The Goldbergs.
Oh, all right.
So
well,
anyway,
there you go.
That's my favorite part.
Eva Longoria was in Desperate Housewives.
Yeah, if you don't know. She also, I just read an article. Didn't she get like, she and somebody else got $100 million from Jeff Bezos to do good in the world.
Really?
Yeah.
She was at the Oscars because she was executive producer on the Flaming Cheetos movie that got nominated for favorite song. The song that they sang with the kids is from a movie about how the Flaming Cheeto got invented.
Oh, really?
And Eva Longoria, I think she's also in the movie, but she executive produced it.
Oh, very interesting.
Did she direct it? She might have directed. I don't know. She's tied to the movie, and she's tied to the Cheeto in some way or another. I don't remember how.
I've always liked her. Again,
I love her, yeah.
I know nothing about her.
No.
But for some reason, I've always liked her.
Yes. I loved Desperate Housewives when it was out. And I started watching it for Terry Hatcher because she was also in Lois and Clark in the 90s. And I was like, oh my God, I love Superman. And I like Terry Hatcher. And then I heard that she was very problematic on set. Allegedly.
Oh, really?
She was very, very problematic. That a lot of people didn't like working with her. But I fell in love with Ava Longoria on that show. She had the hottest gardener.
Yes.
I love
Jesse Metcalf.
Oh, yeah. He don't look that way no more.
No. He's in he ended up in like some sort of course I know this. He was like some sort of first responder in some sort of show.
Oh.
I think it was like some kind of Texas Marshal
on Paramount
show.
Plus.
I don't know whether to laugh or cry.
Anyway, so we saw this movie.
Yeah.
Takes place in 1987 in El Paso. First thing I noticed, because Aristotle, who they call Ari in the movie, I'll call him Ari because every time I say Aristotle, I want to follow it up with Onassis.
Okay.
And
different people.
They're different people. Yeah.
Not a biopic.
No. He did not date Princess Diana. So.
Or Dante.
Or yeah, well. Yeah. He wakes up and his alarm clock's going off and he hits the little snooze button on it. I had that exact alarm clock and I was like, I think everyone in the 80s did.
I'm so glad you said it. Didn't you? I loved all the throwbacks.
Yeah.
I mean, this was my childhood.
Yeah. We were
it.
small children in the 80s.
And you know what I appreciate right off the bat is while he's hitting that thing, there's like the voiceover playing and it says that every day or like he would go to bed hoping that tomorrow he would wake up and the world would be a different place.
Yeah.
And it never was. And it just, with no lie, like, why would I lie to you? I would go to bed in the 80s, look in the mirror and say, tomorrow you're not going to be gay. You're going to be normal. You're not going to be gay. And I would do this speech every night to myself. And then every morning I'd wake up and be like, oh. And until I learned to accept it. But
yeah.
that was right off the bat. I was sort of like glued to this movie because I'm like, oh my God, that was exactly my life with that alarm clock.
I do the same thing now in the mirror. And I was like, you're going to wake up and you're not going to be fat anymore, you fatty. Now put the Twinkie down and go to bed. And every morning I wake up with the Twinkie. So
There's
the
an
movie-
IE on the end of that.
The what?
If there was no IE on the end of that, then I'd be like, good for you.
No, there's always an IE
And then
on
I
the
get
edge.
up and I cry into a bowl of ice cream with my fat little tears.
Anyway, so Ari goes out, and he wants to go. He goes to the swimming pool. He doesn't know how to swim
You know how he doesn't know how to swim?
because he falls to the bottom.
Did you see the way that is not how you swim.
Yeah.
He wasn't even attempting to swim.
No, he just like a rock.
He goes into the pool and he just sinks to the bottom. He's underwater and then he comes back up and he's like like spitting water out.
Yeah.
And then this kid's like, "I'll teach you how to swim." And I'm like, that's how could you fathom that he doesn't know how to swim by what he was doing, because there was no attempt.
Yeah, that kid, Dante.
If you haven't guessed.
Dante says, "I'm Dante and I know how to swim." And he's like, "Good for you." So to prove to him, he swims back and then he does just swims to the edge of the pool and then swims back. He's like, "I could teach you how to swim."
Now, I am not a professor of swim.
Sure.
You know, I'm sure that I took lessons as a child, and I'm not sure that part of the process of learning how to swim was floating. So when he's like, "I'm going to teach you how to swim," and he's helping him float, I'm like,
Maybe he was teaching him how to just like expand
and then
and
he's like
keep the.
holding his back up
It
and staring
reminded
at
me
his
of that
chest.
scene from Moonlight. Remember when he's holding the kid in the water? That's what it reminded me
Oh,
of.
okay, yeah. I just
No,
thought that part was weird because I'm like, you're not teaching him to swim.
I don't
You're staring
remember-
at his bare chest, you creep.
I know that I can swim. I just don't remember how I learned to swim. But yeah, I don't remember anybody doing that to me. At least not in the water.
Can I tell you this story real quick?
Sure.
About learning how to swim. I was like, as a kid, I would cry all the time. That's probably why I laugh so much now, because I got no more tears. And I'm a small person. Well, not my waist anymore. My waist is cut up, but just a little. And so we were in class, and the instructor was like, okay. She was trying to teach us how to do some sort of side breaststroke or something like that, and then you have to do it out of the water before you get in there and do it in the water.
Side boob.
So she looks at me and she's like, "All right, come up here, short shit. Show us how it's done." And I was devastated. And I went home and my mom was like, "How was class?" And I was like, "Cindy called me short shit."
How old were you?
30? No. I was like, it was pre-first. I was kindergarten or first grade, something like that. And so she was not mad at me for saying short shit. Like, my mom always had my back, right? So that was like, "We will have a meeting with Cindy now." And so the thing is, Cindy was the daughter of the guy who ran the Little League that we all played for. So my mom, picked up her phone. And that's a rotary for those that are just listening. And called and yelled at that guy. And so the next time, she's like, "I'm sorry, I called you short shit." I was such a little bitch when I was a kid. Anyway, that's my story about swim lessons. You're welcome. Carry on.
Thanks, short shit.
You're fine. No.
So they become friends, Aristotle and Ari and Dante. And they're running around. They go into each other's parents' house. They're meeting the parents. Dante runs around without shoes. He doesn't like wearing shoes, which I was watching this with Chris, and he looks over at me and goes, "That kid's going to get a staph infection."
That's a very nurse thing to say.
Yeah, and I was like, it was I don't know why, but nobody wore shoes in the 80s. We ran around the streets barefoot.
Like, this takes place in El Paso, Texas. Now, I grew up, and during this time, I was in Houston, Texas, and it's just we didn't wear shoes.
Yeah, it was. I don't have an explanation as to why we never wore shoes in the 80s, but we didn't. We just ran around outside barefoot.
Yeah,
drank water from the hose.
The hose, yeah.
Pushed people, slapped, fought. Nobody called the cops.
Talk to strangers.
Yeah, got in their vans. Lots of free candy.
There was never
so much free candy.
I never saw one puppy or one piece of candy.
So when Dante goes over to Ari's house, he brings them a gift. He's like, it's very weird. It was
Why?
the beginning. I mean, it's a cute movie, but the movie starts off and there's a lot of weird stuff that happens. And he's like, my mom says never to come to a person's house without a gift. And he gives him an art book.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's in the next scene when Ari meets Dante's family. You get it. They're very like it's just it's a story of like two completely different families. Like there's one that seems to be somewhat middle class, that where they're Mexican, but I think as they kind of describe it, it's like Mexican light. Like you can't tell if they're really Mexican or not. But then you've got like this, not as wealthy, definitely. Lower class Mexican, lives in a totally different part of town. So like you've got these, parents that are professors or whatever it is. And then on the other side,
they got bookshelves with books on them and they're into art and all that stuff.
Yeah. And on the other side, you've got like, they live in an area where they've got to combat becoming part of a gang and that kind of thing. So they're just different. They come from different backgrounds, but they bond.
Yeah. And I wrote this down because I thought this was very interesting. In a kind of funny way. Each one of the boys are kind of like little versions of, if you've ever seen Brokeback Mountain, of Ennis and Jack. And it feels like the director was like, I want you boys to go home, watch Brokeback Mountain, and that's who you're going to be. Because like Ari is very like Ennis. He's just like always talking through like each word seems forced out. He's not a chatterbox. And he seems just very unsure of himself. And afraid that anybody's going to think that he's, gay. And then Dante is all, free-spirited, and he's like, I like art and boys.
Look at my pretty scarf.
So it felt very Brokeback Mountain for the Disney Channel.
Well, I will say for the first half of this movie, you don't know if anybody's gay.
True.
Although there was like they first met, and then they were out running around somewhere, and they got popsicles. I was like, Jen, Jen, is this foreshadowing? I know, completely inappropriate.
So Dante's parents are like, they're taking the boys camping. Ray and Dante go camping, and they have a good time. They're becoming really good friends.
Yeah,
it's really good time.
And they're bonding with the other parents, and and the families are getting close. It's all good.
And then the Dante's family are moving to Chicago. Now, I didn't get that because maybe I just missed this part. So do they only summer in El Paso, or did they move to Chicago and then they moved back?
No, they live there, right? I think that they live there. It's just that he got a job teaching for a year in Chicago.
Okay.
So they went to Chicago so the father
part.
could teach. Yeah, he just got a job teaching at a university there. So they went there for a year and came back.
Yeah.
Just real quick, what's the name of the group that does the SNL videos? No something.
No.
We've talked about
No
this
One
before,
Left Behind.
and every time that we talk about it, we can't remember the name of it. It's like No Something Please.
Yeah. But I know what you're going to say.
The kid, Dante, looks like one of them.
Yeah, the one with the curly, bushy hair.
Always saw. It's like, oh, this is him when he was a kid.
Yeah. So, so he's moving to Chicago.
But before they move, is it important to talk about? Huh?
Please don't destroy. Please don't destroy.
Is it important to talk about before they go away to Chicago?
Well, I was going to talk about the accident. Yeah. So, because he tells them that he's moving, and then, they're walking, and they take they were both wearing Chuck Taylors. One's wearing red Chuck Taylors, one's wearing white, and they take each one of their shoes and tie the shoelaces together and throw them up over on some power lines.
As if to say, this is where you can buy drugs.
Yeah, that's what that means, right?
Yeah, that's what it means.
Because I was like, when they did that, I was like, I think
when the kids do it, it's just like fun, and it's like, oh, we'll see.
It's like, look, we're bonded.
But when adults do it,
it's hey, you can get your drugs here.
Yeah,
all right. So they do that, and it's raining, and it's all romantic and shit, I guess. And then they see Dante sees a bird in the road,
and there was a weird thing about birds leading up to this. Like every time something was going on, they looked in the sky and there were birds.
And so he goes to get the bird, and there's a car coming, and Ari's like, Dante, and then he lunges out, and then you see the flash of light, and then the bird feathers or whatever. I don't remember. There was like this transition of, there was a car accident.
Very wonderful reenactment. Thank you.
So we cut to the hospital, and
Also, isn't it you that when you talk about like somebody hitting the climax moment of any kind of sex, whatever, you go, it's very much like
all birds sound alike.
It's very similar to the sound the bird makes when a kid gets hit with a car.
It sure does. So where was I?
All right, so they're in the hospital.
Yes. They're both injured, but they survive. Dante's got a broken leg, and one of them had something on it. Was it Dante? Or no, Ari had the broken leg and something on his chin.
Yeah.
Like he hit his chin.
Which is really weird because his face was still pristine. He's a very nice looking young man.
In all honesty,
and
the patching looked like he had a chin job.
Or like he got cut shaving.
Yeah. So, and Dante had like a busted up shoulders.
Yeah.
They're both banged up, but they're going to live. They'll be fine.
But Ari saved Dante's life.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. He pushed him out of the way and saved him from dying. So.
Did you notice that while he was in the hospital, there was a single red balloon?
I wrote that down.
Jen said, the It Clown is under the bed.
I was like, what an interesting, because it take place in 87, and that, that's when it happened. That's when it happened. So Dante asks Ari if they'll be friends when he comes back from Chicago. And he's like, yeah, we'll be friends, yeah. And so Dante gives Ari his sketchbook and says goodbye. See you next summer.
And there's all these sketches of Ari in it. Ari
and Ari's mom and Ari's dad sleeping. No, just weird sketches. No, but he's a good artist. They're pretty good sketches.
Yeah,
little art kid.
Yeah, sure.
So they agreed that
right, because Ari's whole thing is that he's going to be an artist.
Yeah,
not Ari. Sorry, Dante's whole thing.
Yeah. So and they were going to write letters, but I mean, I think we all know that Dante's going to be the one that's doing all the writing because Ari's not, and he doesn't. Does he even write one letter?
I mean, he even says that this whole thing about their friendship is, I want to know everything about you, but I'm not going to tell you anything about me.
Yeah,
we've all been in those relationships.
Mm-hmm. So Ari's at school. He's got his broken leg. And some girls come over and they're like, blah, 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 saying girl stuff. And then another girl comes over and she wants to sign his cast. And I was thinking, why do we do that? Do they still do that? Like if you've got a cast, do they still sign the cast? You're younger. When you were in school, Caitlin, did you sign? Why do we sign casts? What's the point?
I don't know. But when did Dear Evan Hansen come out?
I don't know, a few years ago.
He signed a cast in.
Oh, that's
here's a bigger question. You've got no friends.
Mm-hmm.
No one's signing your cast. So you're going to let one stranger that you just met be the only person to sign your cast? That just seems weird to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the little hussy signed it really high up on the cast.
Yeah. It's like, come on, kids. Come in. Below the knee.
PG.
Stop.
PG. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
Lin-Manuel produced this.
Did he?
Didn't you see that?
I didn't notice that. All I know is Ava Longoria's in it.
Did you? It's the first name that pops up on the screen because I think that's why they're trying to get people. You look it up and see who produced.
I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I didn't notice.
Talking to you, Caitlin. Will you look at like Jeremy's busy podcasting? Can you look up who produced this movie?
So the course of the school year, Ari he gets his first car. He turns 16, so he gets his first car. He gets a pickup truck.
Do we not want to talk about the? Oh, never mind. I was like, are we going to talk about the letters?
Oh yeah, we'll get to the letters. So he gets his first car. He also gets a job, and he's working at fast food.
Did you ever see Better Off Dead?
I don't think so.
Is that the one where everybody wants them? It's who's in it? John Cusack.
I don't.
Isn't it?
That one.
Oh, it's such a good movie.
I'll check it out.
Anyway, it reminds me of he worked in a burger joint. Reminded me of it.
So over the course of the year, while all these big events are happening, Dante's sending letters. I put here they're exchanging letters, but they're not exchanging letters. Dante's sending letters to Ari.
It's like 4-1.
Yeah. And it's Lin-Manuel
Miranda is a producer. there are 3 executive producers before you get to him as a producer, and his name is what pops up. I
Yeah.
think they're just trying to put a name out there that people will recognize. Yeah.
They're like, hey, can you give us $5 so we can put you on as a producer? So yeah, Dante, do you want to talk about some of the things Dante asked Ari?
Well, it's so funny because first of all, it's like, hey, this is really great. I was at a party and I'm meeting some people. Hey, I met this girl. This is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And then, hey, do you ever masturbate? Let me ask you a question, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Do you ever? No, how many?
Go on.
How many of your friends in high school ever asked you if you masturbate?
I didn't have friends in high school. Thanks for asking, though.
I just want to say, I have never been asked that
Yeah.
question.
It definitely came out of left field. It was a little weird. I think Ari thought it was weird, which is why he ripped that letter up.
Well, also because he didn't want anybody to read it.
Yeah. So in another letter, Dante tells Ari that he kissed a girl. It was so funny because he's like, she told me I was pretty. I'm like, you're a little queer.
So then the next letter is
I don't know if I ever told you. That's how I got HIV.
oh, because he said you were
Guy
pretty.
told me I was pretty. I was like, all right. Let's go.
So then he's like, oh, we kissed for a long time. And then then in another letter, he's talking about kissing her. And then he says that she said, who were you thinking about when you kiss me?
Yeah.
Because she's like, you're not
You're
thinking
not
of
thinking
me.
of me.
And then, he's like, I was thinking about a boy, or I want to
Yeah.
kiss
Oh,
a
well,
boy.
she asked, she goes, are you thinking of
Oh.
another girl or are you thinking of boys? And he said, I'm thinking of boys.
Right. So that's his come out. I'm coming out to Ari.
Yeah.
And then he goes, what's so weird though, is like they're playing this, like Ari's not sending letters back.
Yeah.
And so he's just getting this.
So
like,
he's just getting
more
information
open, more
dumped.
open information.
Not
And,
even knowing if it's being
Right.
read or
And
what
then,
he
like-
thinks of it.
like he said, we're going to be besties, so it's okay. I'm going to tell him all this. And then it's like, now I'm going to tell my parents, and I'm worried what they're going to think. It was never like, what do you think?
Yeah.
But I think then, like right before he moved back, he's like, are you okay with this kind of a thing?
Yeah. So it's weird because Ari it felt like he wasn't really giving attention to girls until he read the letter where Dante said, I kissed a girl. And then it's like the next scene, he gives a rose, he puts a rose on a locker of a girl and puts a little note there.
To that girl, the girl that was in Manifest, who is trying to get him killed by a gang.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that we find out at a party later that she has a boyfriend who's in a gang. And he's like, why did
Right.
you kiss me? Why did you kiss me?
And he's trying to stay out of that life.
Yeah.
And his brother is in prison.
Have we gotten to the part where we talked about the brother yet?
No, we haven't, but we haven't gotten there.
Okay.
Because it kind of explains,
Yes. We should mention Ari has a brother, but he doesn't know him of him. But
it's before Dante comes back, because he's telling him, you need to tell your parents. Or from the beginning, Dante tells Ari, you need to force your parents to tell you about your brother, because they don't talk about him. It's like Bruno. They don't talk about him. So fine, he goes to this party and this girl makes out with him. And he's like, why are you doing this? And then she's like, oh, by the way, I have a boyfriend who's like,
I wrote
marry
this
you
down.
now."
Girl at party tells Ari, I have a boyfriend. So does he, girl. So does he.
So he goes home and he's mad, and he
Yes.
forces his mom to tell him about his brother. So apparently his brother's in prison
Yes.
because when he was 15 years old,
He picked up a sex worker.
he said, I'm going to be cuckoo and I'm going to go out and get my rocks off. So he goes and he picks up a street or a
sex worker.
sex worker, and turns out the sex worker was trans.
Yes.
And so then
And they kept saying this, and it was so weird because they said it like 7 times. He killed the trans worker with his bare hands. And it's like, okay. And then it's like, yes, your brother killed her with his bare hands. I was like, you don't have to keep saying bare hands.
Yeah.
And they kept saying it very weird.
Yeah, and the interesting, what I would point out is like this is all taking place in 1987, 1988. So of course I'm thinking, well, that tracks, that happens today. So, but what doesn't track to me is in El Paso, Texas, that a 15-year-old murdered a trans person and is still and is put away for a long time because Ari didn't know his brother because his brother's much older than him, but the brother was still in prison. And I just thought that doesn't track. Because of the time, I would think that they would have said, 5 years, or at least you're in juvie until you're 18. And
or the
you're
trans
free.
panic kind of thing
Right,
would have been
the
used as an
trans
excuse.
100%. And that 100% would have been the excuse in the 80s.
So he finds that out about his brother, and just in time for the summer. And Dante
Dante's
comes
back.
But did you notice that he gets all dolled up for him? It's like, he's combing his hair and he puts a nice collared shirt on. He gets all jazzed up.
Is that what he did that for?
That's what I thought.
I thought he was trying to look more like his brother, or like to part his hair in a different way to look like his brother, because he just saw his brother. I don't know. I was wrong. Your thing sounds way more correct.
I thought he was like, my boyfriend's back. So he got all prettied for him. And then he picks up his boyfriend, and they're driving out to the desert as you boys do.
See, I didn't get any of that, because to me, they're like, at this point, I was pretty sure from the first second of the show, I'm like, this boy's gay.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, maybe he's not, because he stopped giving off gay vibes at that point.
Yeah.
And so I didn't get the sense that he was dressing up because he was there. But then yes, they get in the car and they go to their spot.
Yeah.
Right.
And Dante says, "Do we have rules?" Well, yes, Dante. We live in a country of rules.
We are a civilized society.
Yeah. So, Ari says,
at least for now.
Ari's response is, "I don't kiss boys."
Yeah, that's his rule. I don't kiss boys.
Yeah.
And then,
but do you do other stuff? I asked Chris. I was like, all he said was, "I don't kiss boys." That is Julia Roberts' only rule in Pretty Woman.
She did a lot of other things.
She did a lot of other stuff. She's like, "I just don't kiss."
I don't know. Are you going back to the popsicle scene? So then Dante's rule is, you can't, if you're going to be my friend, then you have to be my friend even when people say, why are you hanging out with this gay guy?
Yeah.
You've got to have my back.
His word, he says, "Don't run away. If you can't stand by me when someone says, 'Why are you hanging with that queer?' I couldn't take it." And he's like, "All right, we will be friends."
Oh, and while I will point this out too, while they were away and they were sending letters back and forth, because I think this is adorable.
Yeah.
Dante sent Ari 2 little shoes, a red one and a white one.
Oh, yeah.
And to symbolize their shoe thing that they have going on.
You know what I thought was hilarious?
Hanging on the rearview mirror.
I had that keychain.
Oh, really?
I went through a Chuck Taylor phase when I was younger, and I had a little white keychain just like that.
I thought it was adorable.
Yeah.
And that they're hanging there, and that's just this symbol of their whole friendship.
The
and
tiny little versions that they sell drugs from.
So, and here's another thing that never happened to me when I was in high school. So tell me if this ever happened to you in high school.
Yeah.
You got your best friend, and you're hanging out, and you come out to your best friend, and you've set the rules.
Yes.
I don't kiss boys. Never leave me.
Don't leave me.
All of a
How
sudden,
do we seal that?
it starts to rain.
Yeah.
And how do you seal that deal? You take off all your clothes.
Except your shoes and underwear.
Except your shoes and whitey tighties, which looked bizarrely like large diapers.
Yeah.
I think that the makers of the film were kind of like, let's not give a little treat to the pedophiles out there. let's put on like the largest. I mean, they went from their belly buttons midway to their thighs, and they're dancing in the rain. And I'm like, yeah. My best friend and I in high school never did that.
Picture it.
But he wasn't as cool. He didn't.
Summer 1992.
As Ari. He didn't come out.
Me
to
and
be
my
cool.
best pal are hanging out in the backyard. We're playing with our action figures. And he's like, "Are you wearing underoos?" "I'm wearing underoos." And we dance.
It started raining, and my friend looks at me and he says, "Should we go inside?" And I said, "We could do that." Or so they dance naked.
Yeah.
Or not naked.
They dance half naked.
Half naked. And then they get in the car and they go back to now Ari is dropping Dante off at his house.
Yes.
And then what every right winger thinks gay people do.
Dante looks at Ari
does.
and says, "How do you know you don't like boys?" And Ari's like, "I don't know. I just do." And he's like, "I think we should kiss to see." And he's like, "I don't think that's a good idea." And he goes, "Kiss me now."
He's like, but you're my best friend.
Yeah.
Like, this is total groomer situation. But you're my best friend. Yeah. Well, don't you want to do this for me? And that way I can know if I'm gay and you can know if you're gay. Come on. So then Ari like it was hilarious the way that he's like, ugh, fine. And he turns and they kiss. And then you can tell immediately that Ari is gay because he says, that did nothing for me. Get out of my car, you freak.
Yeah.
And he like
He goes, you disgust me.
Completely changes, kicks him out of the car. So then now they're not friends anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, how quickly did they both break the only rule? They each had one rule.
Yeah.
And they each broke the rule.
Yeah.
So they're not friends anymore. So Dante then befriends someone else.
Yeah.
And
Well, yeah, because Ari goes to the house. He's got a bag, so I assume he's returning his boyfriend's stuff. This is the stuff you left at my house.
I don't think that was what's happening at all. I think Ari was going there it was what was in the bag was his swimsuit, and he was going to say, "I'm sorry, let's go swim."
Yeah.
But he looks up in the mirror and he sees in the window, and he sees that Dante has a pattern. He's got a new boy sitting in the same chair that Ari sat in, and he's handing the boy a book.
Chris also mentioned this to me. He goes, "Why do they look like they're twins?" Dante definitely has a type.
I see you. I see you, brother.
Yeah.
So then Ari's like, well, I guess he's moved on, so I'm gonna go swimming.
So he goes swimming alone. And
I will point out he can swim very well now.
Yes.
Thanks to Dante.
Thank you, Dante. So Ari's grandma, Jesus Christ, I can't talk today. His grandma dies.
Yes.
So Ari and his dad, his mom's already gone up there, so they drive up there for the funeral, and they're hanging out at his grandma's house, and he mentions, where's the rest of the family? Why are we the only ones here at grandma's funeral?
Yeah.
And it turns out grandma was a lesbian. These gays just pop up everywhere.
Yeah.
And so she lived with a woman for many years. He's like, oh, I think I remember her. And they're like, yeah, she was a lesbian. What do you think of that? How's that make you feel?
Yeah, and he's like, cool. You know what's interesting to me is, again, the context of the show, El Paso, Texas, a Mexican family background, 1988 at this point, and it seems odd that I guess the point of the show is to just show you the people in the show that were cool with it, not the people who weren't. But it just seems strange to me that it was like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you mention that, because if you were looking for people who didn't like the gays...
That's true. They're about to show their ugly little heads.
We cut to the next scene, and...
So Ari gets back from his grandmother's funeral, and then has decided, I'm going to go and fix this friendship with Dante.
Yeah, because now he knows my grandma was gay, my parents are okay with the gays because they loved grandma, so I can go claim my boyfriend now, because my parents will like me because I'm gay.
Well, I don't think he's quite there yet. But he's he's at least like,
he's ready to patch that. I'm going to patch
that friendship up. I'm sorry I called you a freak because my grandma wasn't a freak, right? So he goes to the house, and the father answers the door, much like the vet techs. The look on his face was much like the vet techs when they came in after we knew we were going to put Coco down. And he answers the door, and he's like, so something's happened.
Yeah.
So they take Ari to the hospital, and Dante's in the hospital.
Yep. Beaten. Yeah, he's just all got beaten up because, as his mother says, some boys caught him kissing another boy.
That same boy.
That same boy he saw in the room. His name's Daniel. And we find out that Daniel ran and Dante did not.
Yes, Daniel ran, left Dante there. 4 guys beat Dante.
Yeah.
Terribly.
Daniel Rancliffe. That's his new nickname. So Ari goes, he storms out of there to go defend his boyfriend's honor. And the mother's like, Ari, where are you going? And he's all like storms out, and he gets in his pickup truck and he drives to where Daniel's working. Daniel has a little, a job at a little boutique clothing shop. Of course he does. And he's like, hey, I need to talk to you. And he's like, no, I'm working. And he's like, you come talk to me or I'll beat your ass. And he's like, okay. So they go outside.
I thought, if I was Daniel, I would be like, I'm getting my ass beat anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to go out into the alleyway so you can do it. You're just going to have to do it in front of everybody in the store. That's how I would be. Like, I would not think this guy wants me to go in the alley to have a conversation.
Yeah. So Ari confronts Daniel and he's like, tell me who did it. And he gets two of the four guys beat up Dante, and he gets two of the names. So he goes looking for blood. He goes to, I don't know, was that a garage that the guy was working at? As a mechanic?
Yeah, he's a mechanic at a garage. And so, like, you got to get inside of Ari's head here. He now feels like, I'm going to go and kill this person who did this terrible thing to my friend. And I'm just like my brother. I'm no different than him. I have no future. This is what my life is going to be. So I'm just going to go and do this. And everybody thinks I'm a loser anyway. So I'm just going to be that. And this is done. So he goes to the garage and he starts up a conversation with the guy. And then he just pushes the guy up against the car. The guy throws a punch at him, misses, and then Ari
beats his ass.
Do you know one thing? I don't know if this happens to you, but I hate fight scenes in movies where somebody hits somebody's head onto concrete.
Oh, yeah.
I hate it. And so when he did that, like, Jen and I were both, like, screaming, like, nah, like, you're going to kill this guy, and then you're going to go to prison for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So
I got a little excited. I was like, beat his ass!
So he definitely tore him apart until somebody, like, grabbed him. But I guess, like, he said something like, I should call the cops, but I'm not going to. Like, there was this weirdness about, like, you didn't think that he was ever going to get in trouble for what he just did. I thought you just beat up somebody in a gang and they're going to kill you.
Rules of the street. You don't call the cops.
I guess. And so he goes home and he's in a bloody mess. Mm-hmm. He's got blood all over him. And his mom's like, sit down, your father and I need to talk to you. And then they were like, you got to let go of this rage. Like, listen, we know you love him. We know he loves you, and we know you love him, and we're okay with it. So go be happy with your boyfriend. Which I thought was super. I mean, it was really nice. It just seemed weird. It seemed odd.
Because he cried, and then he said, I'm ashamed. And his mother said, why? For loving Dante? You should be proud.
Yeah.
And then he said, okay, I'll be proud. And then Ari and Dante drive out into the desert. Boyfriends hand in hand.
Well, they drive out there, but so I don't know how far this place is from where the hospital is or wherever they are, but the whole ride out there, apparently they didn't have a conversation about anything. So the last...
But, I mean, in Dante's defense, the last time he talked to Ari, he told him he disgusted him, so he probably didn't want to talk to him.
Right, but wouldn't that be the time, the car ride out there, to say, hey, I'm sorry, you don't disgust me, and then they'd have all the... No, they was silent in the car, I'm assuming, because they don't show us. And then they get out there, and then they start having the conversation where Dante's like who was always the really kind-hearted, life is great, nice guy, is now the
bitter and
I hate
angry.
everything.
I hate the world.
And then they're still having some weird conversation for like 5 minutes, and I'm like, just tell him already.
And then Dante says, I can't do this. I can't do the friend thing. And he's all like, what do you mean? And he's like, I can't do this. And then he says, you know that thing you asked me last time before you got your ass beat? I lied. I really did like
and when
the
he
kiss.
said, I lied. He goes, when you asked me that, and he's like, oh, no, I was there. Why are you making me relive it? And he goes, I lied.
He's like,
and then,
gosh.
And then Dante goes,
and then it's like, what? And then they kiss. And then the ending shot is they're laying in the bed of the pickup truck.
And they turned magic.
And they're holding hands, and they're looking up at the stars, and then their little clasp hands open up, and inside their little hands is the whole damn universe. And Aristotle and Dante discovered the secrets of the universe.
Yeah, because they looked in their hand. It was right there in their hand.
That's how the book got named.
It was like Men in Black meets Aristotle and Dante. You know how like the whole universe is in that little thing?
Yeah.
It was all right there in their hands the whole time.
Yeah.
If only they had held hands earlier.
Been looking all over the place for that love. It was right there. The palm of their hands. The power of the sun in the palm of their hands. Anyway,
I thought it was
it's
a cute movie. It's a cute movie. I enjoyed it.
It, as I mentioned earlier, and I was telling this to Chris yesterday, I was like, this is Brokeback Mountain for the Disney Channel. That's what this movie was.
I enjoy I enjoy the nostalgia, as I said earlier. I lived in 1988 and I didn't get that level of acceptance, I don't think.
Yeah.
So I just find it odd that
my parents were definitely more like the Eva Longoria parents.
But did your parents come up to you and say, "You're gay, be gay"?
They should have. They would have been fine if I did, but I didn't come out. But I mean, we had
Oh my god, are they just finding out?
just now, just this moment.
Oh my gosh.
No, but we had,
Congratulations.
I mean, like, we have like 12, 15 gay people in our family. So there were gays at the family. My parents met in the gay bar. They hung out with drag queens.
Do you think they're expecting a toaster oven now?
Yeah.
All right.
Probably.
That's an Ellen joke for those who don't know.
Yeah.
And if you don't know, you should watch it.
Anyway, good movie.
Good movie. Yeah, let's go with, what do you think now? I just think there is no standard when it comes to Rotten Tomatoes.
No.
And I find it so strange that there's no standard because there are things that will be like that are good, that'll have like low ratings, and things that suck that'll have good ratings. Yeah. So anyway, I mean, this is definitely, like I said, this is one of those movies that has very Disney Channel feel to it, and I mean, critics don't usually go for those kind of things. So I mean, critics probably went like low 80s, 81, 82. Audiences 87. I think that would be an accurate thing. I might have gone a little higher I would think like the critics would have been like, like this is so meaningful and it's this wonderful love story between two kids and it should be something people see. So let's give it like an 86, 87. I would think both of them would be around that range. 90 for critics, 95 for audiences.
Really?
Isn't that crazy high, I think?
That's super high. A lot higher than I thought. I thought this was going to be too schmaltzy for critics.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was good. It was good. It just wasn't like, it was good. It could have been way better. Yeah. I just think like some of the writing, some of the...
Well, I will tell you,
the acting.
There is a sequel book, so there you might... maybe they can step up the game.
I mean,
for the sequel movie.
I really enjoyed it, and I would recommend that people watch it. 100%. And if they come out with a movie from the second book, Aristotle and Dante discover the way of water,
we'll watch it.
Yeah, I'll watch it.
Yeah.
Watch it, we'll talk about it. So thanks for the suggestion. Always send us suggestions. We're likely to watch something if you send us a suggestion.
We're always looking for good stuff to watch.
Now, the only way we won't is if you recommend something we don't like, and then we probably will not listen to any more of your recommendations. So thanks for being in touch and recommending this. We enjoyed it.
Yes, and that concludes our...
We don't know what we're talking about next time because it's totally different. Maybe next time we'll do our milk thing.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
And I should probably clarify that because it sounds weird. But we are, one of these days, we're going to watch the documentary about Harvey Milk, and we're going to watch Milk and talk about that. And maybe we'll do that next time.
Over a glass of milk.
A White Russian for you, a glass of milk for me.
But yeah, and we'll be back next week. I'll be less phlegmy. Maybe I'll drink wine then.
Maybe the sickness will have transferred to me by then, and I'll be phlegmy.
But until then, the cork is back in the bottle.